Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Decatur at the Illinois Raptor Center, where this is really a busy time of year. It's baby season. Birds are hatching all over central Illinois, and right or wrong, people sometimes pick them up and bring them here to the rehabilitators to take care of. This is what happens. Okay, Jack, now Jane is bravely going to try to move this female gray-horned owl who is protecting the babies that aren't even hers. Is that right?
That's right. As you can see, this is Spud, and she's our resident gray-horned owl, and she's not too pleased when we have to relocate her or relocate chicks. I mean, these are her babies as far as she's concerned, and a very, very, very powerful owl. So
my goodness.
And normally we use Spud on programs. We wouldn't be doing this. You know, she'd be on equipment, but she gets her equipment taken off when she gets chicks, and she becomes a big mama owl. And right now, she's not letting go with her beak right now. She's
poor Jane.
This is yeah.
Those gloves must be tough because I don't know if Jane.
Actually, Jane has the thin ones on right now. I just noticed that. And, so yeah, nice little dent in the glove there.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move her right to another enclosure.
Yes.
And then we're going to attempt to move these baby owls in with her.
Right. She can't fly, but they need to start doing their flying stuff. So we're going to move her to a flight so she can still be with them. But they need to get into a flight where they're starting to get some exercise because this is a little too cramped. Now, when they all went in here, they were little tiny things. I mean, they were the size of softballs. So they're getting to this point where they're flapping their wings and they're learning to fly, and we just need to get them out into the flight, and we're going to let Mom go there with them and take care of them.
Well, let's go in and take a look at these little ones and see what the trick is to gathering them up.
Well, they're not as dangerous as the adult is.
I think we can get a good look at them. Now, some of them are older and some of them are younger, obviously.
Yeah, this is the youngest one here.
What's with the beak? What are they doing with the beak?
It's bill snapping, so it's actually a defensive. It's a warning. It's not defensive, but it's definitely a warning. It's a warning call. Just like a rattlesnake has its rattle on its tail, a great horned owl has its beak. It will always warn you before it does something. So, and you can tell this one's a little younger, still not bill snapping. It still doesn't quite know what's going on. But these guys obviously all are old enough to realize that humans could be potentially dangerous. So.
Which one are we going to move first?
I don't know. We'll just pick this guy right here.
The big one, huh?
Yeah, the one that's.
Start with the tough one
so
first.
they're not. Yeah, they're not.
They don't have names yet, I take it.
No, we usually don't name the rehab birds.
Okay.
One, because there's so many of them, and two, we just don't want to get that person. We're trying to keep them wild. That's why we give them to a surrogate. We don't raise them. Spud raises them for us. And so we're trying to maintain kind of a distance between us and the bird. Our ed birds, yeah, we'll name those guys, and we get to know them. So there's not much to this, except you got to watch the other ones. And here's.
Okay, we'll make sure they don't get out. I'm gonna let you go first, and we can get a good look at this critter. How old is this owl?
Oh, you would ask me that. It's at least 2 months right now, and you got to watch this beak.
And they're even at 2 months, they're pretty tough. They could put a nice chunk, take a nice
they can
chunk
bite
out
pretty
of your
well.
hand.
And
look at these talons.
The feet are
definitely
almost ready to go. They're what we call hard penning. So their feathers are coming in, and I'll let him just play with that for a little while. And so you can see this is hard penning, so their feathers are just starting to come in. Well, they're almost done here, and this is actually a shaft that's filled with blood. This one's done. Almost done there. So these got a little bit more to grow.
Okay. Now, as we move this, let's talk about how you came into the possession of these things. I mean, this time of year, you end up with a lot of babies, not just birds, but all kinds of baby critters that may or may not have been necessary to be saved.
Right. Well, every one of these baby gray-horned owls is an unnecessary rescue. So what we could have done with these guys is they could have been put back in a nest. So some people just deemed that the nest was inaccessible, or I will be honest, some of them, they didn't know exactly where the nest was, but we weren't given the option to go out and look. So if these guys fall out of a nest, we can put them right back in a nest. It's no big deal.
Trouble is, you don't know where the nest was.
Yeah, but some people just don't want to go through that work. What they think we're here for is that we're here to solve their problem. The problem is I've got a baby gray-horned owl, and I don't want it here. And so they think our job is to come and take care of that for them, and it's not. Just gonna put him down here on this. Whoop, there he goes.
Oh, wants to be with Mama. or what he thinks is mama anyway.
Yeah,
they get right behind mama, and then she gets all puffed
yes,
up, and she really gets protective.
Threat posture.
Doesn't
I
she?
think I can get her to do that threat posture here. No, she's not. She's not going to do it. She's got some room to run, so it's okay.
There's that bill snapping again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, this attitude's, right now, she's kind of like, okay, I don't know what's going on. When we get all the chicks in here, it'll be a different story.
Yeah.
So, when they leave the nest, when a baby gray horned owl leaves the nest, it's called a brancher, and they can't fly. I mean, that is a rule of all animals. Ducks get up and they run, but they can't fly. Mm-hmm. When eagles leave the nest, they can't fly. And here's the idea behind that is, if you have a nest of, let's say, baby great horned owls, so let's just say we have a very successful nest where there's 3, which is kind of rare, but let's say we have 3 baby great horned owls stuck in a nest. The bigger they get, the noisier they get, and the smellier they get. It draws more attention to the nest if they stay in that nest together longer. So nature's got this really cool thing called branching or fledging. They want to disperse those chicks over an area. That way, if a predator does find the nest, it doesn't wipe out the entire nest.
Right.
If you get the chicks and disperse them, we know that some of those chicks aren't going to make it. So nature, if a predator comes, it may take out 1 chick, but 2 of those chicks are managed to survive. When they fledge, the parents still feed them. They still take care of them. You may not see that. That is a rare thing to see. But so it may happen that you had a gray horned owl nest in a woodlot in your backyard. You come out in the back, and there's a baby gray horned owl sitting on a stump in your in your yard. Well, people will go, oh, it's abandoned. I don't see any adults. I don't see any, and so they will call us and say, come and get this, when it's perfectly fine creature. Or what's worse yet is they might grab it and drive it 3 hours here, and then we've got it.
Right.
With most fledglings, if they were at this age right now, we'll just stick them in a limb and a tree nearby. We'll try to identify that the adults are there, but we'll usually, for example, we got a guy we've been talking to. He's been watching a fledgling for 7 days. He's never seen the adult. He just called this morning and said, it's still here. And I said, you do realize that if no one was feeding this chick, it would be dead after 7 days.
Right.
Someone's feeding that chick. Someone's taking care of that baby.
Yeah.
So a lot of people grab those fledglings, or a lot of people think that, well, once it's out of the nest, we can't do anything about it. There's even another trick we can do. It's a rare trick, but let's say if this baby great horned owl fell out of one nest and we can't get to that nest, but we know where there's another great horned owl nest and the chicks are the approximate same age, we could just stick that one in another great horned owl's nest. They cannot count. They cannot smell. They can't. All they do is they come back. There may have been 2 chicks, and one day they come back and there's 3, and they just go ahead and feed
them.
They don't. They just take care of it.
Well, you can see how maternal this one has become to these.
And we were talking earlier. It's amazing how maternal female raptors are, because all you have to do to get a female raptor to be a surrogate is show her a chick. And if they just cheep, something clicks in their brain, and they will try to rip your face off, and they will defend those chicks like nothing.
Jane Seitz, we're in your hospital here at the Illinois Raptor Center. And unfortunately, really, spring is a very busy time for you, isn't it?
Yes, very, very.
What happens that just makes this place just go crazy in the springtime?
Everything's hatching, everything's coming out of their den. It's a crazy time. And actually it begins a lot earlier than people think, because it begins in February when we're still cold and still got the heat on. Great horned owls are out there, they're sitting on their eggs, and everything has been born. And we're just now seeing it. When kids get out of school, that's about the time that the little songbirds are coming out, and every little kid's out there.
Oh, they find them and then they want to save them, right?
Right. And sometimes the love that we have for nature can actually be not so good for it. And sometimes, a lot of things come in here that are not rescued, but that are kidnapped. But, a lot of times they do need to come in. And I spend a lot of time on the phone talking to people to try to figure out what we're going to do. And some people, let alone call me back. And some people send pictures on the phone. This is a lot different. When I started in the 80s,
I'll bet.
you know,
I'll
now
bet.
people can send me a picture of what they're talking about. You know, what is this? And, you know, I get a picture on my phone within 2 or 3 seconds, you know. So it's in the emails, it's a whole different world and a lot. I thought that computers were supposed to make our lives easier, but I think they've made them more
Makes you busier. Hey, just to your right there, we're looking at 3 screech owls. And these poor little guys, of course, you came by these again. They may have been you know, abandoned by their parents, or they just may have been picked up too early. But would you bring one of those out for us, and we can talk about him a little bit?
These little guys, 2 of them came from Springfield, and I think it was during a storm, and they got blown down. And I think one of the babies ended up not making it. And then one of these came from the University of Illinois.
Oh, and there's that beak clicking again. That means that she feels threatened.
Yep.
Yeah. And now, how old is this little fellow?
Well, it's probably, I don't know, don't quote me. At least, you know, it's after its first month. As you can see, they're just starting to get the little tufts there. What happens first is when a baby is born like this, is they get their structure first, all their skeleton. It grows as tall as the parents were, and people say, "Oh, you know, this isn't a baby because it's so big." Well, they get their structure first, then they start getting in these feathers. And I think Jax was talking about them being hard pinned and stuff. The last thing that an owl gets in is the feathers on its head. But you can see he's starting to get the little feather tufts there.
That's a good sign, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's a real good sign. And some, you know, on this he's got still some of the. You can see here on the back still some of the little fuzzy feathers yet that he's got. But he's starting to get the little...
Yeah. Now, is there any chance you'll be able to release these birds to the wild?
Oh, but these guys, yeah definitely,
good.
Definitely. I don't see any injuries on them. And, you know, when people will call about little screech owls, you can see this one in the corner. He's acting like he doesn't have any legs and he's all down.
That's right.
And
He
they'll
looks
say,
pathetic.
"Oh, you know, it looks so terrible and it's not moving." Well, owls don't move around in the daytime because they're going to get mobbed by crows or blue jays. And we've had...
they lay low.
They lay low and they don't move. And people say, "Oh, they're not doing anything. They must be sick." Well, wait till evening. Wait till, you know, the sun starts going down and then they start being the little owl that they are. But and I think when these came in, the first 2 came in, you know, the person that brought them over says one's really good and one doesn't look good at all. But when we got it in here and night came, he perked up like the other one. So,
well, okay, let's put him back in.
Okay.
And what I'm going to ask you to do is, you've got a nest over here with some baby robins in it. Now, people can really relate to this because everybody has seen a robin's nest with and those little blue eggs.
Hopefully.
You know, those little blue. Yeah, and a lot of times the birds will either fall out or they're fledging and they're just not flying yet. They're on the ground. People find them. And they think they're doing a favor by picking up these birds and either bringing them to you or putting them, you know, doing something else with them.
Right.
But let's go over and talk about what people should do with these things. And maybe you could feed them for us too. Look at these little fellas.
These little,
Oh boy, they're ready for some food, aren't they? Look at that. Now, did these get brought into you?
Yes, they did. They fell out of the nest. We've had some high winds and stuff, and people couldn't find the nest. I actually robbed from our educational program to put them in because
That's a good cause.
Nature makes the animals make the nest where they keep the feet up under them, and if I put them in something where their legs go out, they'll grow that way and they'll get splay legs. So they have to be tucked in the nest really, really
That
tight.
makes a lot of sense.
But when they're born, they're all in there very, very nice. As you can see, a robin has a nice little mud nests that they make like this, and they have, you know, enough babies in there that they all get to tuck in there real nice. Well, when they get bigger, they get loud, they get smelly, and a predator could come in and get them all at one time.
Right.
So nature has them disperse, and when they disperse, they can't fly. And it takes a little while for them to get their bearings. They'll take and put their little talons in the tree and flop and get up in the tree and then try to get, you know, back down. The hardest thing for a bird to do is to take off, to learn how to take off, to jump up and get air and take off from the ground. This is going to take 2 or 3 weeks for these little guys, and that's when people find them and think they need rescued, and they don't.
I see.
They have to have that time on the ground.
They're supposed to be.
They're supposed to be there, and they learn how to fly.
Would you show how a mother? Let's say a mother comes along with something for them, and so let's see just how they react. Oh, look at that one! Whoa, boy! Okay. Oh. What is it that we're feeding them here?
This is a new formula, actually, that came out for rehabilitators. We've all been griping. We've made all sorts of formula through the years, but this is more of an insect formula, and it's little pieces. They're kind of, this is not like a big worm or something that Mom would feed them, but it's hard for us to do that and to keep enough worms. It's amazing how much a parent can feed.
They go through a lot of food, don't they?
But this is insect-based, where a lot of the stuff is seed-based, which these guys are insect eaters. And if you feed them not enough calcium and protein, then their wings aren't gonna, they need a lot to grow.
On this one that we're looking at, the big one, you can see that his chest already starting to turn a little red like a robin?
Yeah, they get that little spotted chest there. And the red on it, and he's starting to get his little feathers in.
Wonderful, beautiful. Okay.
I have a surrogate. I brought these in because I got cold last night, but yesterday they were out with a surrogate parent, and the parent was feeding them, and they were doing really good. Then it got cold last night, and so I brought them in, get them warmed up, because unfortunately the surrogate isn't sitting on them to keep them warm, but it is, because I go out there and it's like, got the worms, and I've got mealworms and earthworms and everything, and they got fed really good. They're not really crazy about this stuff I've been feeding them, but I brought them in. So, but kids need to learn that, have a little bit of trust and faith in nature, because it knows best.
Right.
All righty here.
Now, Jack, these are obviously not babies, but they are youngsters, and wow, nice catch. Now, this is a barn owl.
Yeah, B-A-R-N, barn owl.
Barn owl.
And they are juvenile barn owls. And we got them in from a town nearby. This is a state endangered species. This is the second time that we've had juveniles that we've raised. So, look at that.
What a beautiful bird.
And
now,
so,
how did you happen to be raising them?
What happened is this is actually kind of a rare thing. These guys were in a clutch of barn owls. We call it a double clutch. So there was a family of barn owls, and they had not only one clutch of eggs, which normally they'll fledge or leave in July, but they had a second one. It is a thing that does happen, but the sad thing about that is that those are pretty doomed, because by the time these owls would have fledged, it probably would have been December. Now, that's nature's fault. These barn owls decided to have a second clutch, and if those chicks don't make it, that's fine.
It's too late in the year to make it through the winter.
But on this one, this is one of these rare cases, all right, big guy, where I think is very justified for us to intervene, because what you're looking at is an Illinois state endangered species. So the population of this owl in the wild is really rare. To just leave 3 barn owl chicks and go let nature take its course I think that's irresponsible from a conservation method. The nest was destroyed. We could have probably built a nest. We could have probably built a nest. We probably put those chicks back in a nest nearby. I think the parents would have taken care of them. I know they would have, because these guys were actually on the ground for a week. They were in the neighbor's bush. And which is that in itself was state endangered species living in the front yard of a residential neighborhood of a town in central Illinois. Mattoon, Illinois is where they came from. So, that was just crazy itself. But would they survive? Probably not. Is this a species that we really had to intervene on? I think so.
Will you take these back to that same location?
Yes, they're going to go back. That's why we're grabbing these guys up right now, is they're just looking at health-wise, see if their feathers condition's good.
How do they look to you? How does this one look?
They look awesome. There's a perfect feather condition, really nice fat plump keels on them. They're flying in here, so the ones that are flying are being able to turn up, so they're using a certain set of muscles to turn and grab the top of the cage, which is really, really good. Their feet look awesome, nice and sharp. I mean, these are probably the most perfect birds I've seen come through this facility.
Wonderful.
And a very wildness to them. They're not tame. They're not trying to.
So they'll be able to make the transition.
Oh yes, definitely.
Well, Jack, it's interesting. As we're talking about, taking care of babies that aren't making it in the wild and they get brought here. In fact, this woman, is Tracy, I think is your name, has been watching this young, is it a great horned owl?
Yes, this is a...
In her yard, and hoping that the parents were taking care of it, and now she's brought it here because she thinks that maybe it's just not being fed.
Yeah, and actually, right now, what it's exhibiting is, if when I talk to people on the phone, there's certain things I'm looking for. So it's not in a defensive posture right now. Mm-hmm. It's very lethargic. It's making some sound, but it's very weak and muted. Mm-hmm. And so other things that you're looking for is a parent, like if it's drooping a wing or dragging a leg or flies, you'll see an abundance of flies on it. That's usually an indicator something's wrong mm-hmm. with the chick itself. Mm-hmm. So right now it's very, very lethargic. It's just kind of staring at the side of the crate.
Is it possible to pick it up and show it to us?
Yeah, we can go ahead. We're going to have to get it into an incubator because it's a little cold.
Okay, so yeah, this chick's not been eating, and apparently has been left by its parents.
Yep, and it's very young for a great horned owl right now because you just saw the great horns that we had, mm-hmm. and they're they're fledging right now. Yeah. So this is not a fledgling.
Okay, so you're going to get this on an incubator.
Yeah, and we're going to get him in there, and then he's probably at a state right now where he can't take solid food, so we'll have to give him some liquid stuff just to bring his energy up a little bit. But it's a great horned owl, so their chances of survival are, you just saw a bunch of babies. They're tough babies.
Really?
So they're very, very tough babies. Good. So his chances are pretty good. And once he's up to speed, we can put him back out there with Spud, which means Spud will be a little bit more aggressive for longer this year. So we're not going to be able to give Spud a vacation. You're not going to be a problematic creature right now, are you?
Is he behaving pretty?
Yeah, she's probably still groggy.
Usually she's here at the Raptor Center you expect to see only birds, but every once in a while
we do some mammals.
My goodness. And people would be surprised to see a badger in Illinois, wouldn't they?
Yes, well they're a native species and they're fairly common here. I want you to look at that. Look at these feet on this.
Those are impressive.
Some digging feet there.
Take your eye right out.
So this is kind of it's a nifty creature. One of the reasons why I love rehab is that I do get to meet creatures, and I do get to learn from some really awesome, powerful creatures. And so we do mammals. It depends on what the mammal is. So we're not doing raccoons or possums or squirrels. We will help place those, but we will definitely work with some of these guys. We've actually raised these guys before. But this is also kind of a sad part here. I'm going to reshift her so she doesn't tear my arm up here. Yeah.
She's snarling.
Yeah, she snarls. Okay. So here's the thing. Good intentions sometimes can be really, really harmful to wildlife. Yeah. So here's a creature that was found as a baby. Mm-hmm. Was illegally raised. You can't raise badgers, you can't have raccoons, you can't have squirrels, you can't have owls or falcons. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was that I understand why they saved it because they thought they were doing the right thing. Yeah. But what they've done is they've kind of tamed this creature. Mm-hmm. This creature especially is a creature that doesn't tame well, but as you can see, I should not be able to hold a baby badger like this. Mm-hmm. And can I release this in the wild? I don't know yet. We have to evaluate that. And if I can't, well, then I've got a problem because I've got to make a decision on whether, I can't use this in educational programs. This will terrify children, It's a neat creature.
Oh, especially when it gets full grown.
Oh, yeah. It'll be huge when it's full grown. So, yeah, hold on.
Now, do you know what part of the state this came from?
Springfield, actually. Oh, really? Sangamon County.
So they're widespread.
Yeah, there are actually quite a few badgers in Illinois. I was telling a story earlier that, I used to think that they needed to be endangered, and I was told, really nifty little saying was that just because I don't see badgers doesn't mean they're not there. Right. They are there, and there's been some studies done. There was a lady in Champaign that did a wonderful study on badgers, and we do have badgers in Illinois, and they're doing fairly well in Illinois. But so, what we're going to try to do with this guy is we're going to see, is this guy going to get a little bit more wild? Is this guy going to get a little bit, this obviously doesn't help, but the fact that it's snarling and wanting to get away is really good. So we just got this in a few days ago. We're going to be moving it out to a facility outside, and I'm going to put her away because she is digging into my arm.
Yeah, if that's hurting. Yeah. Well, thank you.
So, back up. Yeah, this is where we get There we go. Yeah, she just turned around and got defensive. It may be releasable, but if it's not, what do I do? Yeah. Well, I have two choices. I can place it or I can euthanize it, which is a big part of my decision making here. Mm-hmm. And I really would hate to put something down like that. It's just when people rescue wildlife and they try to raise it themselves without the training, without the knowledge, believe it or not, you're doing more damage to that animal. Yeah. We have our staff of educational birds here, and they're great birds. But these animals really need to be in the wild. And every time I look at my one-winged golden eagle, I love that golden. It's a great bird, but it always in my head, I wish that bird wasn't here. Mm-hmm. I wish it was out there. And so when you raise stuff illegally, people don't think that extra step. When it's out there, it's got to be able to defend itself. It's got to be able to hunt. It's got to be able to breed. Otherwise, it's just living out there doesn't make sense. These animals breed in the wild. It's got to be able to reproduce, and it can't walk up to people. I mean, can you imagine a tame badger walking through your backyard? It would just dig a hole through your house, yeah. and other people may not understand that, and they might destroy it just because of that behavior. Sure. And so you really got to think twice. So we always have a saying here. It's funny how people find us when the animal gets out of hand, but they managed to find us then, but they never did manage to find us when they first had the animal. And I grew up outdoors. I grew up as a kid playing outdoors. There's this thing where you see something, you want to have it, you want to have this sure. wild animal as a friend. But it doesn't work out in the long run.
That's where parents come in and say, no, leave it alone. Nature knows best.
Yes, back up and give someone a call, and we'll give you some advice. And otherwise we're left to make decisions like this. And we'll see. We'll just have to see what happens with her.
It's not always easy to know what to do when you encounter baby birds in the wild. But one thing you should do is go to the website of the Illinois Raptor Center and download this file, How to Help Without Hurting. This way you're armed with the information you need to deal with the incident. With another Illinois Story in Decatur, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
For a DVD copy of this episode of Illinois Stories, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, broadcast date, and topic. You may also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605 or by using our secure server by going online to networkknowledge.tv.